June 12, 1962. A guard reached into Frank Morris' cell, touched the head on his pillow, and watched it fall. It hit the floor, cracked open, and revealed something worse than an empty bed. The face had never been real. Within minutes, Alcatraz locked down. Sirens sounded, and 3 prisoners were discovered missing from America's most feared island prison. Frank Morris and brothers John and Clarence Anglin had vanished overnight, leaving plaster heads beneath blankets to fool the guards. But escaping their cells was only the beginning. Beyond the walls waited freezing water, violent currents, and more than a mile of darkness. The question that still survives is simple: did 3 men drown that night? Or did Alcatraz finally fail completely? Alcatraz had been designed for prisoners considered too dangerous, disruptive, or escape-prone for ordinary federal institutions across the country. Each man lived alone, guards performed repeated counts, and San Francisco Bay formed a moving wall around the entire island. Between 1934 and 1963, 36 men attempted 14 escapes, yet officials insisted nobody ever reached freedom and remained free. Frank Morris arrived in 1960 after repeated prison escapes, bringing exactly the patience and experience Alcatraz was built to contain. John Anglin followed later that year, then Clarence arrived in 1961, placing 3 men with shared history in neighboring cells. A 4th prisoner, Alan West, joined them, and sometime in December, an old saw blade transformed conversation into a plan. Behind each cell's small ventilation grill lay a wall that looked solid, but years of moisture had weakened the concrete. The men began drilling tiny holes around the grills, working slowly enough that guards would not notice the walls changing. They used stolen saw blades, sharpened spoons, and a homemade drill powered by the motor from a broken vacuum cleaner. Whenever music hour began, accordion noise and ordinary prison sounds helped hide the scraping coming from inside their cells. Each opening was concealed during inspections with cardboard, luggage, or painted covers designed to resemble the original concrete wall. Once through, the men entered an unguarded utility corridor running directly behind their cells, invisible from the main block. That hidden corridor gave them space to climb pipes, study the building, and reach the unused area above cell block B. Up there, beneath the prison roof, they created a secret workshop that guards never realized existed above their daily patrols. They built a crude periscope for lookouts, then took turns watching while the others transformed stolen materials into escape equipment. More than 50 prison raincoats were gathered, cut apart, stitched together, and sealed against heat from exposed steam pipes. The result was a 6x14-foot rubber raft, large enough for 3 men, yet small enough to hide above the cells. They also made life vests, wooden paddles, and converted a musical instrument into a pump for inflating the raft. Every piece created another risk. A missing raincoat, unusual noise, or careless footprint could expose months of secret work. Meanwhile, they searched for a route from the cellhouse roof, where a ventilation opening stood nearly 30 feet above them. Using pipes as a ladder, they climbed upward and loosened the rooftop grill, then replaced its bolt with one carved from soap. By early June, the plan depended on 4 things working perfectly: the holes, the roof, the raft, and the night guards. The escape date arrived on June 11, but Alan West discovered his cell opening was still too narrow to pass through. He pushed, scraped, and struggled while the others waited. Yet every extra minute increased the chance of another guard count. Eventually, Morris and the Anglin brothers left him behind, carrying their raft and equipment into the utility corridor without him. They climbed above the cell block, forced open the rooftop ventilator, and emerged into cold night air over Alcatraz. From there, they crossed the roof, descended near the bakery smokestack, slipped over a fence, and reached the northeast shoreline. Behind them, dummy heads rested on pillows, complete with flesh-colored paint and real human hair gathered from the barbershop. A night guard looking through the bars saw sleeping shapes and moved on, never realizing the prisoners were already outside. At the water, the 3 men inflated the handmade raft, gathered their paddles, and entered San Francisco Bay after darkness. That is the last moment investigators could reconstruct with confidence. Beyond the shoreline, the escape becomes an unsolved mystery. Their intended route may have led toward Angel Island, then across Raccoon Strait into Marin County and the mainland. But the bay was cold, the currents were strong, and the prisoners could not know exactly where the water would carry them. When morning exposed the dummy heads, officers searched the island, boats crossed the bay, and aircraft scanned the surrounding water. Within 2 days, investigators recovered a rubber-sealed packet of letters connected to the escapees, floating among the dangerous currents. Later searches found paddle-like wood, pieces of rubber inner tube, and a homemade life vest on distant Cronkite Beach. A similar paddle appeared on Angel Island, suggesting at least part of their equipment traveled close to the planned route. Yet investigators never found the men, their bodies, the complete raft, or evidence proving they stepped onto the mainland. Alan West told investigators the group planned to steal clothes in a car after reaching land, but none were reported missing. The FBI also watched relatives, checked records nationwide, questioned boat operators, and searched for any trace of 3 new identities. Years passed without verified contact, spending records, fingerprints, arrests, or credible sightings that could prove any escapee remained alive. That silence strongly supported the official belief that the raft failed and the men disappeared into the cold bay. But silence could also mean the plan worked exactly as intended, because successful fugitives survived by leaving nothing behind. Some later claims suggested family contact, secret photographs, or lives abroad, but none settled the case beyond serious dispute. Researchers have also modeled tides and tested possible routes, showing that survival may have depended heavily on launch timing. The water was dangerous, but not automatically impossible. Trained swimmers have crossed parts of the bay under controlled conditions. The real challenge combined cold, currents, darkness, exhaustion, improvised equipment, and 3 men unable to correct one major mistake. In 1979, the FBI closed its investigation after 17 years without credible evidence that Morris or the Anglin survived. Responsibility passed to the United States Marshal Service, while official records continued describing all 3 men as missing fugitives. Alcatraz itself closed in 1963 for financial reasons, not because the escape had suddenly destroyed confidence in the prison. Still, the timing created an irresistible legend. America's supposedly escape-proof fortress shut down less than 1 year after 3 men vanished. Today, visitors can still see the enlarged openings, dummy heads, workshop evidence, and the route leading toward the roof. Every object proves the plan existed. None proves whether the final crossing ended on land or beneath the water. That uncertainty is what separates this escape from every failed attempt before it. Alcatraz never recovered its prisoners or its answer. Maybe Morris and the Anglins disappeared into the bay. Maybe they reached shore, changed names, and never looked backward. Either way, the prison designed to know every prisoner's location lost 3 men in history still cannot tell us where they went.